This is Real Retirees Uncut. My name is Aja. I'm 52 years old, and I was born and raised in Newark, New Jersey. I was drawn to this channel because I've been looking for a community of retirees here on YouTube to exchange ideas and stories. And so I am very excited to share my own story. I'll be answering the standard 17 questions. So I've answered the first one about my name, age, and where I'm from. When did I retire and from what career? I am a former teacher, so I retired 3 years ago, October 2022. And yeah, I was a school teacher for 25 years. What drove my decision? Um, well, I was in a very toxic and hostile work environment. I won't get into too much detail about that, but after quarantine, during quarantine and the aftermath really sealed my decision. I realized that I was eligible for early retirement and I took it. What is my approach to saving and planning? Well, about a year before I retired, I started studying tech, so web design, app development, software engineering, and the plan was to use that as a side hustle while teaching. But so I started studying and getting certificates and joining organizations. But once I decided to retire, I thought maybe I could actually make this a second career and supplement um, my pension because I realized I wasn't going to be able to live where I was living solely on a pension. But 3 years later, and I'm still working on that. However, I decided to sell my home, my expensive New Jersey home, and use the proceeds to relocate to a more affordable area. So I live now in the state of Delaware, and it's working out really well. And so the next question is, what are my retirement income and sources? So number one is the pension. And I also work part-time scoring essays for standardized tests. That's seasonal work. And like I said, I am studying. I'm still working on possibly uh, um, another career as a software developer. But I don't know. I'm kind of liking not working. So I probably won't pursue that unless it's something that's really on my terms. Saving to spending mentality. I am definitely on a saving mentality right now. I've worked it out so that all my bills are paid, um, and I have a little bit left over to save. So I give myself a bit of an allowance each month so I can enjoy my life, but I try to look for inexpensive things to do. And yeah, I work on building a good emergency fund because I did have to dip into my emergency fund upon moving here. And so I'm working on rebuilding that just to make sure that I'm prepared for any other surprises, which I know is another question further down. So we'll talk about that soon. Social Security. I will collect my Social Security. Well, right now the plan is to collect my Social Security at 62 and immediately begin doubling down on the payments on this house. My mortgage is, it's pretty, doable that I could pay it off within a few years after doing that. I mean, after starting to receive the Social Security. So that's the plan. If I do get that dream tech job, then the plan might change and I might collect it later. So we'll see. What is a typical day like now? Oh, it's so wonderful. I get up when I want, so I'm not really a morning person. I sleep in a lot and I just do what I want. If I feel like going out, checking on the garden or doing some landscaping, I'll do that. If I feel like just sitting around watching TV all day, I do that. I also love to volunteer. So I volunteer with a nonprofit organization maintaining their website. I also volunteer for Habitat for Humanity. And so I go to build sites, do spackling, painting, whatever other little odd jobs they might need help with. And I love to spend time with family and friends. So I do travel back and forth a lot, back to New Jersey and other local cities like Philadelphia, Washington, D.C. Um, what do I enjoy most? I really enjoy just being able to not be on schedule. I enjoy forgetting what day it is. um, all the things that I'm involved in are optional. So like Habitat for Humanity, there's no commitment to that. I can just show up when I want, at whatever time I want, stay for however long I want. And that's what I'm enjoying most. For the first 2 years of retirement, I worked another full-time job for a year and I studied in a program for about 5 months. So was still getting up really early. I was still accustomed to my teacher schedule. But for this last year, I really embraced just relaxing and doing what I want to do each day. Major lifestyle changes. Yeah, I mean, now I'm just really in t-shirts and yoga pants most of the time. And now I am free to travel or do whatever I want. I don't have to worry about leaving sub plans or, using up sick days or personal days. So that's the biggest lifestyle change. New hobbies, interests, or skills. Well, Habitat for Humanity is definitely something new, and I'm loving that. I've also been participating in meetup.com. So that's a website where you can meet other people with similar interests. So my big thing is hiking. I love hiking, and I sign up for hiking events on meetup.com, and you meet up with other professional people who have similar interests. And yeah, still working on technology. So that's a new skill that I'm still learning about. My biggest challenge or surprise. So the biggest challenge was after those 2 years of working and studying. This last year, I've been surprised at how much I've had to transition into real retirement. Sometimes I just stay home for days at a time, never leave my house. I have to kind of um, learn how to live my life and enjoy it. And that was surprising. Um, Biggest challenge was within, let me see, was it a month of moving here? My HVAC went out. And so I had to replace that and really deplete my emergency fund. But again, I'm working on saving that. I have a good plan for replenishing that. Do I wish I retired sooner or later? Well, I retired as soon as I could. I don't wish that I had waited the additional, what was it, maybe 4 or 5 years. I feel like if I had done that, I would have been run ragged. I would have aged more and maybe even gotten sick because it was that bad. The environment I was in was that bad that I would have probably gotten sick or yeah. No, it was good that I got out when I got out. Anything differently to prepare? Definitely I would have saved more. and there was two cars that I leased rather than buy. Maybe I still would have leased one of them just for the fun of it, but maybe I would have worked on a better plan because at this point I have a 2-year-old car that's paid off, so I don't have to worry about that. And I wish I had thought of that idea back then, and I would have had more money saved now. Glad never deal with again. Sometimes I look at the time and I think, wow, if I was teaching right now, if I was still teaching, I would be picking up my students from lunch, things like that. So I don't miss teaching. I do miss working with young people, but I like to volunteer. So I always have options of doing like a little craft table at a festival if I want to interact with young people again. How do I define retirement success? I think retirement success is different for each person. Overall, I think if you can pay your bills and you still have money left over at the end of the month, you have a long term plan for caring for yourself, you're able to choose what you want to do each day, then you have a successful retirement. Any advice for the first 5 years from retiring? Um, well, it I think retirement is actually a lot more planning. You can't just say, "Oh, I'm going to retire next year." You have to lay a foundation for it. With me, one thing that really um, is supporting my retirement is that my children are independent. So I don't depend on them. They don't depend on me. That helps substantially. And that was, putting in that effort in raising them, making sure they grew up to be successful people. Number two is, again, just better planning. I was a single mom, so I really couldn't save too much, but I could have made better decisions with some of my spending. And I would say you definitely want, or at least I made sure that I am debt free other than my mortgage and my student loans. I did get most of my student loans um, forgiven, and again, I paid off my car, paid off any debt that I had, so that I could really live off my pension, and working is an option. So maybe I don't have a 401k and I don't have a huge investment. I do have a small Roth IRA, but since I have my pension, I I'm financially secure. So whatever um, you do, just make sure that you are financially secure and that you have plans for, especially things like inflation. That's what my part-time work is all about. Making sure that I'm saving and you have an emergency fund, and try to work on getting rid of that mortgage too. Well, thank you. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share to this channel. If you know anybody else who is interested in finding a community of retirees who will talk with you about the real experience. And yeah, and I have my own channel, so if you don't mind, please visit me. It's called Retired, Inspired, and Thriving. You can find me at Miss Aja 1973. Thank you.